I keep hearing something interesting from modern-day MAGA Christians that I find interesting. Apparently, they think that God has put Donald Trump in place, and criticizing Trump is criticizing Yahweh. I'm not so sure I agree with this. A lot of Christians make the mistake of trying to apply everything in the Old Testament to our modern-day society, when the Jews were in a very special situation. Not everything in their covenant can be applied to America. Case in point, Israel was a theocracy while America is a constitutional federal republic. Yet certain Christians will try and apply everything across the board. Before Israel had a king, they were led by prophets and judges who served as military leaders and judges in times of crisis. Israel wanted a king because they desired a national identity and military leadership like other nations, and because the corrupt sons of the prophet Samuel were not leading justly. Their desire was a rejection of God as their king and a wish to be like all the other nations. So Yahweh gave them what they wanted. Now God directly picked the king in many cases. The firstborn son would be next in line. Sometime good would step in and remove the king if that king was extremely corrupt. Sometimes the people would pick a person to be king who was corrupt, and God would get rid of that person. Many times, God would pick a king with no input from the people. Now the thing is, there was no voting system that I am aware of back in that time period. The system that we have in America is very different from what Israel had in the Old Testament. People voted for Trump to be placed in office. I do not see anything that would indicate that God put Trump in office, unless you are saying that God took control of people and made them vote a certain way. If we are going to go by this logic, then God must have also put Joe Biden in office and Barack Obama in office as well. In biblical times, even when God did clearly put kings in power, it did not mean they were immune to any form of criticism. The Mosaic Law, laid out in passages like Deuteronomy 17, explicitly states that the king was not above the law and was responsible for knowing and upholding it. While ordinary citizens might not have been the ones to challenge the king, the role of the prophet was to speak truth to power and deliver God's judgment when kings strayed. However, if you still say, I am wrong, did conservative Christians also criticize Obama, Biden, and other Democratic presidents, then you were wrong for doing so by your own logic. If God is choosing who the president is, rather than American voters, then Christians and others should have been praying for these democratic leaders rather than criticizing them. Also, it's important to once again state that we are not under the same system of government Israel had in the Old Testament. We do not have a king. We have a president that serves 2 terms and is then replaced with someone else. The president is not a monarch. The U.S. Constitution establishes the president as a constitutional officer with powers limited by law and in no way comparable to a king of Israel. The ultimate authority in the United States is the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. No government official, law, or court ruling can contradict it. The Supreme Court has the highest judicial authority to interpret the Constitution, while the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. I see no evidence that God put Trump in power, rather that people voted him in, and in our system of government, people are allowed to criticize the president and even vote him out of office. I do not think it's a good idea for Christians to try to apply everything in the Old Testament concerning Israel, which had a unique relationship with God, to America.